Is sending an invoice by email really electronic invoicing? We'll answer that question and also explain which companies receive the most value from submitting invoices by email and which companies receive the least. Next on this edition of the Savvy Report. Hi everyone, I'm Ernie Martin, founder and managing director of Receivable Savvy, and welcome to this week's edition of the Savvy Report. During an interview for an upcoming episode of the Savvy Report, I asked my guest to share a little bit about his background in accounts payable and shared services. Among the items we touched on was the notion that many suppliers believe that when they submit an invoice by email, it's electronic invoicing. Well, this isn't the first time I've heard this. In fact, everywhere I go, whether it's speaking at a conference or engaging with a room full of practitioners on the order to cash side, there are many that tell me that they submit invoices via email and they kind of like it. And when I say email, I mean attaching a document to an Outlook email and sending it to their contact or their customer. So why do so many practitioners and organizations still view email invoice submission as electronic invoicing? Well, those who use email as an invoice submission method see anything associated with electronic email or electronic mail as electronic. And it's not that practitioners are slow or unintelligent, actually quite the contrary. The perception is often perpetuated because others refer to email submission as electronic. So you have some saying it's electronic, some saying it's not electronic. So the answer to this question, whether email invoice submission is electronic, is a resounding no. It's not electronic, and it can't be. Let me explain. With email invoicing, someone somewhere has to manually intervene in the process when invoices are being submitted via email. The data contained within that email must then be manually entered into a customer's accounting system to begin the approval process and the payment process. Even if PDFs in approved formats are being submitted via email, optical character recognition is applied, or machine learning is deployed, somewhere along the process and somewhere along the way, there remains some human involvement and the opportunity for human error to creep in. Pure electronic invoicing can be defined as follows. The electronic exchange of invoice and related business data between a supplier and their customer where no paper or paper-related invoice data is created. No manual intervention is necessary once the invoice leaves the possession of the supplier, and insertion of the invoice data into the customer's accounting system is automatic. So, submission of invoices by email cannot be electronic invoicing, but why is email invoicing still so popular? Well, let's take a look. When we analyzed the results of our 2017 perception study, we saw an increase in the percentage of respondents using email to submit invoices compared to the data from our 2015 study. The percentage grew from 68% of respondents submitting invoices via email in 2015 to 78% submitting invoices via email in 2017. In our study, email invoice submission is now more popular than submitting invoices by paper, which was 76%. But let's dig a little deeper and look at the satisfaction levels respondents experience when submitting paper and email invoices. Of respondents using paper to submit invoices, 25% expressed some level of dissatisfaction. But the more telling number was that 55% expressed satisfaction with paper submission. Now let's look at email invoicing. Only 11% expressed some dissatisfaction, while a whopping 79% expressed satisfaction with submitting invoices via email. That begins to tell the story of why email invoicing remains so popular. Users are seeing a lot of value in it. But let's keep digging and look at paper invoicing segmented by a company's annual revenue. If we separate out those respondents who have $50 million or less in annual revenue, we see that 59% express satisfaction with paper invoicing and only 20% express dissatisfaction. Those numbers change considerably when we segment those respondents who have $1 billion or more in annual revenue. Only 52% of these companies express satisfaction, which in my opinion is still kind of high for organizations of that size, while 34% of those companies express dissatisfaction. Now, that's paper. So let's look at these same segments, but for those who submit in email invoices. For respondents with $50 million or less in annual revenue, we see 77% express satisfaction with email invoicing and only 8% dissatisfaction. For respondents with $1 billion or more in annual revenue, that satisfaction level jumps all the way up to 94%. That's 94% of large organizations saying they get satisfaction with submitting invoices via email, and only 6% are dissatisfied. Interesting number. Now, if we were to look at all of this in a different way, say based on how many invoices are submitted to customers annually, will we see a similar dynamic? Well, let's take a look. First, at paper invoice submission. For respondents sending 500 or fewer invoices per year, 64% say they experience satisfaction with this method, while 23% say they are dissatisfied. For respondents sending 5,000 or more invoices per year, satisfaction drops with paper to 47%, which is kind of expected, along with 32% expressing dissatisfaction. Again, that's not surprising. Will this trend continue with email invoicing? Well, here's what the data tells us. For respondents sending 500 or fewer invoices annually, 61% say they are satisfied with sending invoices via email, and only 19% are dissatisfied. For those sending 5,000 or more invoices annually, 78% indicated they are satisfied with sending invoices via email, and only 11% expressed dissatisfaction. So, what does all of this tell us? It tells us that email invoicing, which is not electronic invoicing, is replacing paper as the go-to method for invoice submission for a number of organizations, and not just for small companies with lower invoice volumes either. Larger organizations are receiving a lot of satisfaction and value by submitting invoices via email. And that, my friends, is what this is all about. Levels of satisfaction by those participating in that particular email invoicing action. Now, customers can continue to dictate to their suppliers how they should be sending invoices, and more suppliers, big and small, to electronic invoicing for portals or for EDI. But resistance will continue to be formidable if the satisfaction level of what they are currently doing remains high. That's the conundrum, even if email invoicing is not electronic invoicing. Well, that's it for this episode of the Savvy Report, and we hope you found this information interesting and compelling. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon.